Let's face it, getting older sucks. Getting older in the age of social media is even worse. Do you hate it when people tell you to age gracefully? Do you want to know how to live your best life at any age? Well, so do we. First rule, don't call me ma'am. Now, here's Jody Miller. Hey everyone, welcome to Don't Call Me Ma'am. I'm Jody Miller, and don't fucking call me ma'am. Having said that, my guest today is actually the only person in the entire world I allow to call me ma'am. Yes, there's one. Anyone else can go fuck themselves, but this person in particular is actually allowed to call me ma'am. We've been friends for almost 15 years now. Not only is he one of my favorite comics, he's one of my favorite people. He was the host of What's the Fashion on E!, was a judge on That Funny Dance Show, currently is the host of TikTok on YouTube, new season starting in the fall. He's so unbelievably funny. He also worked on Funny You Should Ask, which was such a pleasure to work with him and have weird office parties for people's birthdays together. He's so fucking funny. Put your hands together right now, and I know you're not driving, so I know you can clap, for Justin Martindale.
Oh, I hope they're driving. I hope they are driving and clapping. Why not?
At the same time, right.
Live large. Live large. Everything's
just do it.
doomed.
At this point, today could be your last day. Who cares?
Yeah. Hi, ma'am.
See? Like when he says it, it's fine. It's also because you're from the South.
Yes. Well, and it's a joke. I mean, as long as I can remember, Jody and I always see each other at the Comedy Store. And when we see each other, the first word out of our mouth is ma'am.
Ma'am.
Ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am.
And it's just something that has just stuck with us. And
yes.
I'm not giving up anytime soon. And I love that this is the name of the podcast, by the way. So.
And yes, and you're the only one. You get to come on because you're the only one that can call me ma'am. Having said that, I feel like ma'am is slightly being replaced by Karen. And
no.
I mean, somebody asked me the other day, like, which would I rather be called, a Karen or a ma'am? And I'm like,
ma'am.
Yeah, probably ma'am, because Karen is obnoxious and irritating and annoying, and ma'am is just ma'am.
I know, and I feel my heart really goes out to all those women named Karen who aren't necessarily a Karen.
Yes. Oh my God, I have so many friends that are named Karen, and they're like adorable. I don't even know who picked the name Karen. What's the origins of Karen?
The origins of Karen, I think it's just, I want to say it happened during the Black Lives Matter movement, where, you know, you just get these angry Midwestern looking women with that, what's her name? Who was that lady? 8 is Enough, Kate Gosselin kind of haircut.
Oh my God. You said 8 is Enough, by the way, which was a television show in the 80s. But Kate and 8, yes.
Yeah, 8 isn't enough, apparently.
8, apparently not. Then the name should be Kate, by the way. It is that it's that, you know, woman who always asks for the manager, middle-aged, yeah.
But I think Karen, just because it's that Midwestern, milky, just always never satisfied.
Never.
You know, tips less than 10% on everything. Just
fuck that bitch.
And it's the vocalization of it. It's Karen.
Yes, it is.
It has that Karen.
It really does.
My name is
it just gets you
Karen.
right there. It's like when you eat something sour and you get that little like tang, like right. In it's like, yes, love it.
And you don't, and millennials and zillennials, I mean, that's not a name they are seeing. It's one of those like names that are kind of slowly disappearing.
It really is.
There's not like a hot chick in Hollywood or on TikTok named Karen.
No, there is not.
I think during all the Black Lives Matter protests, when you see all these women acting out and acting stupid, these kids are just like, Karen, let's calm down.
Having said that, Karen, I think the name Karen will make a resurgence because everything old becomes new again.
Give it like 10, 20 years, I think.
Yeah, like 10 or 20 years, and then they'll look back and they'll be like, your grandma was a Karen and what a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
because there's like people naming their kids like Opal and Pearl and
they have to get every color, every breed of bird, It's just
breed of bird.
like robin, blue
Mhm.
jay,
Ooh,
cardinal. Hey,
Mhm.
cardinal, come here, cardinal. When I get my baby, maybe I'll go with cardinal.
Cardinal B, like Cardi B, you can just
Oh
call it.
my God,
Yeah.
Cardinal B. Now
Yeah.
that's a TikTok star. Having said that, I don't know, do you feel this pressure for me? I mean, TikTok, it's not brand new, but it's pretty new. And I
2
feel like
years, yeah.
the quarantine, though, really launched it into the stratosphere. I had so much resistance to join and make videos. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Another thing I
Another thing.
have to do to keep things moving. I was actually so angry, and I actually asked a lot of my friends, I'm like, if you don't do it, I won't do it. Like, no one should do it in our group, because it's like, I can't, it's just one more thing. And of course I broke down and did it, and I've got 5 followers.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. I know it's a pretty big
Yeah.
deal. But I mean, so wait, you are obviously on TikTok? Yeah.
Let me break it down for you,
Okay.
my experience and what I
Please.
know about TikTok. Because I was in the same boat as you.
Okay.
I was in the main room, green room of the Comedy Store one night, and Christina Pazitsky, who posts all these random TikToks.
Yes, of other people.
And
great.
I was just like, what in the hell is this? And she was like, isn't it crazy? And I'm like, I hate it, but I'm obsessed with it. And
Right.
so, like you, I got on it and was just kind of figuring it out. And it's wonderful for a creative space. If you are into a creative space, if you want to be a creator, it's great. However, it can seriously make you the most depressed person in the world, because it's all about validation. It's all about wanting to get the right hashtags. It's all about getting seen. And if the content is worthy of being on the hashtag For You page, if it's on the For You page, it'll go into everybody. And that's billions and billions of people watching. It's also terrifying for teenagers, because it's such a youth outlet. And I got caught where I was watching these people, these youngsters coming into my feed, and I'm like, okay, they're taking off their clothes, they've got abs, they're doing winks, they're biting their lips, they're talking about fucking and eating pussy. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I watching here?
God.
What is this? Yes. And so it's it's cool. There's some where it's you get beauty influencers and makeup artists and cosplayers and all that kind of stuff. But there is this terrifying part of it where people just kind of go in because you can comment and you can share, and there's bullying and there's name calling, and people are having to validate what they're saying, and there's canceling. So it's just a lot. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a recap show where I talk about my favorite TikTok things, where there's the thirst traps, there's TikTok celebrities now, which is just terrifying.
That's insane.
Because,
we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yes. I mean, who knew that all you had to do was just a fun little arm dance for 15 seconds to a minute and make $5 million a year?
It is so infuriating. First of all, everything you described about making, if you want to feel bad about yourself, making you the most depressed person in the world, looking at all these things. That's what we said about Instagram. That's what we said about Snapchat, about Vine, about Facebook, going back to the OG, about MySpace, if you really want to go back to the OG, you know what I mean?
Well, YouTube, when YouTube started coming out with content creators, it's YouTube was, I remember a network giving a YouTube star a show.
Oh, yes. The YouTube stars and Vine stars were getting shows. And by the way, failing miserably for the most part.
Yeah. And I remember that network turning on that YouTube star and saying, remember when we did that? What a horrible mistake.
Exactly.
She saw it.
Now it's just the Vine stars too, which Vines were 7 seconds.
Yeah.
You can make hilarious 7 seconds worth of content, and you deserve your own show, or you deserve your own comedy special. It is actually incredibly insulting to a lot of other comedians, actors out there. Now, granted, some people are incredibly talented with what they do. And I do like watching the tutorials on stuff. It's just, it's so much. It's like, so now cool people aren't on Facebook anymore. They're on Instagram. And now TikTok is becoming the new Instagram. So soon it's going to be like, oh, just older people are on Instagram and everybody else is on TikTok. And now Instagram has Reels, which is just really stupid.
Well, it's their version of TikTok.
Of course.
Yes, yeah, because that's what they did with Snapchat. They took over. They created Insta Stories, which was Snapchat's thing.
Yes.
And then we don't know if TikTok's going to go away. And Instagram was like, hold my beer, we'll do our own thing. So I just like how it's just kind of you get the option of doing it, because it's very stressful. Because I was talking to a friend of mine who was a social media, before I started TikTok, I was like, so how do I get on it? And she was like, well, you kind of have to know the platform and you got to create an account. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, now, typically you want to do about 3 to 4 TikToks a day. And I was like,
oh my God,
I'd rather put my hand in my garbage disposal and film it while it's on.
Which would be a fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, I would have all
TikTok.
the likes.
You would get a show. You wouldn't have a hand, but you would have a show.
And that's what these guys do. They have, there's the Sway House and the Hype House. Okay.
Explain the difference.
So these are two different, the Sway House is all guys and they're all content creators. They're all white and they all have the same haircut. The Hype House has a different, it's got like a more diverse group. There's guys and girls. It's co-ed, very LGBTQ friendly.
Right.
And, but that's their job, is they all sit out by the pool. It's terrifying, Jody. There's TikToks of them like, hey, look, we're out by the pool hanging out. And it's just a bunch of kids just looking into their phones, doing dances. And you're like, oh, no one's talking to each other because they're so busy just creating content, whatever it is, a challenge, a trend, whatever it is. It's that like validity. We have to get the likes. We have to get and there's no talent behind it whatsoever.
At all. I don't even know how that's interesting. I don't understand how that's interesting. And maybe that is an age thing. I really, really don't understand how that's interesting. Having said that, I am going to give them a little bit of credit because they obviously put a lot of hours into this. And that's a lot of work to build something up. And it takes a lot of ambition. And
I hope they have time for a nap. Yeah. It's just so much work.
I don't know where they fit that nap in. But I mean, honestly, they would probably make a TikTok like, look, I'm taking a nap. And then it's just people fucking sleeping.
Oh, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised what there is. There's literally TikToks of just a group of kids just staring into the camera. And I'm like, what in the children of the corn hell is this? Like, what? Why is my soul feeling seen right now? It's terrifying.
Because it is. And it's just really, I mean.
There's a lot of gay baiting. There's a lot of, it can be a very toxic place. But I mean, so can all social media.
All social media. I mean, I really try not to go down any feed. Again, the quarantine is like, forces it out of you, so like forces you to look at the feed. But I mean, if you want to swallow a bottle of pills with a bottle of vodka, just look at the newsfeed. Like, you want to end it all, that's what you do. You scroll down and just get ready.
Girl, I have been there.
It's just, and you're like shocked to see, like, is everyone killing it during the quarantine? Because everyone looks like they're fucking killing it. You have two types of people: the ones that are like, that look like they're killing it, and the ones that are like, just hang in there, I'm gonna be in nature.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of that, where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go for a hike again. Where? Oh, the same place I hike every time. We're just gonna go down Sunset. I think that's considered a hike.
It's a hike. It's definitely a hike. I think for me, I mean, I think it's so, my whole thing is, what a weird experience to get older in the age of social media. It's like we're watching it in real time, although nobody appears older because of filters and like touch up your appearance and like all of the pictures that you staged. But I mean, that's how I can gauge a lot of times about how old I feel. Like the reaction I had to TikTok was definitely different than the reaction I had to Instagram, which was how long ago now? 10 years that Instagram's been like, has it been relevant that long? 10 years?
Probably close.
Close around there. But I definitely was like, oh, Instagram's fun. You know what I mean? And Snap, I was like kind of in, definitely not as much. But the second I like realized that TikTok was going to be a thing, it was like a guttural reaction where I'm going to puke. I feel so much pressure. I actually was having like anxiety about it because for us, it's no longer your talent. It's how many followers. It's how many people like you. And that's what everybody based on. Like, do you get hired? Do you get this show? Do you get this based on that? So you have to keep it, you have to keep going. And there's a part of me that wants to not keep it going, wants to just be like, fuck you.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I actually had a conversation with several of my friends about it, because I was having that same feeling of just anxiety and like I guess I'm not relevant anymore because I'm not performing. It's been fucking 6 months now or whatever. And, you know, people are like, oh, you just got to keep putting that content out there. You got to keep making that content. I'm like, but I'm fucking depressed.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, it's hard.
Yeah. You don't want to make it when you're depressed. That's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah. And, I had a friend of mine who was just like, you know, I was like, you know, TikTok and and my friend was like, Justin, it doesn't fucking matter. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, Julia Roberts has like 2 million followers, you know, and then you look at some Instagram thought and, you know, they have their shirt off and here they are with their narcissism and their body dysmorphia issues. And they have, you know, 563 million followers. It's all just bullshit. It's like, and that's, I think it's seriously, what I've grasped from this is that when I do see those profiles and I do see those videos and whatever of just the same old, like, here I am thirsty, here's my selfie, here's my chest, here's my abs. I'm like, oh, you're mentally unwell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're just as bad as me. Like, we're all in the same boat. We're all depressed. We all want that validation. Like, I feel, and I've seen people on Instagram who I'm like, oh shit, I should probably call them and check in on them because it looks like they are unraveling.
Right.
And
go ahead.
So, and I actually have done that where I'm like, hey, if you ever need to talk, you know, just let me know because I know what it's like. I know, I mean, I live alone. I definitely understand. All of my friends, we've all been very socially distant. So yes, I've been living like vicariously through Zoom and the occasional bandana hike.
Right.
So.
No, I mean, I get it. And the last podcast I did with Mike Merrill, we were talking about it and how different it is for people that live alone during this quarantine. Like, you know, for that first 5-6 weeks, you don't touch another human being. You're not touching anyone else. And you're not having any physical contact. The only person you're talking to is Alexa. I honestly, when I would tell Alexa to turn on and off my lights, I would thank her afterwards. Like, I was like, thank you. Like, any sort of like talking. And I found myself feeling a little bit resentful of my friends that were quarantining with someone. Not that I didn't want to have those feelings, but they would be like, all right, I got to go because we're making dinner or we're going to watch, you know, this latest serial killer docuseries together. And I was like, that must be so great because I'm literally sitting at home talking to no one. And for us as performers, it's crippling. You also said something that I've been experiencing. I don't know if you have. It's
sleep paralysis. What? Go ahead. I just thought you were going to say that.
Staring at the clock for 12 hours and wondering where the day went.
Yes, I've done that.
Yes, I have too.
Yeah.
I experienced, you know, recently, I was fortunate to still be working for the first 3 months and I was busy and we were busy, you know, working remotely and getting shows ready for the day that we do go back to shoot. But after that, I went into this weird phase of if I'm not working on the show and I'm not performing, then who the fuck am I? I had a strange identity crisis.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who I am anymore if I'm not doing what I normally do. Because, you know, I'm single, so I'm not, you know, I'm not somebody's girlfriend, I'm not somebody's wife, I'm not somebody's mother, which is not all your identity, but a lot of people that their identity is wrapped up in that, being someone's mother or wife or significant other. So when you're a single person, you put more, you know, most of your energy into your career, into what you're doing. And when you're not doing it anymore, like who the fuck am I?
Oh yeah.
Did you experience that?
Oh, every day. Every day. Every day. I'm not even like joking. I mean, I went through, that's why I kind of created the YouTube show, because I was just like, I need something to do.
Yes.
And you know, I'm not a big technical person. I wish I knew how to like edit and color correct and sound correct and all that stuff, but I don't. So luckily I had a friend of mine, Robbie Vowles, who you know, who he was like, I was like, let's put, you know, he had all this equipment. I was like, let's shoot some shit and post it. And it was fun. And I was like, this is the feeling that I miss.
Yes.
And then I've done, you know, I started my podcast. So it's hard because it's like, you know, I wish I could get into a real studio and have that crew and everything. But at the same time, it's also taught me like things that I didn't know about, that kind of side of things.
Right.
But yes, I do. I sometimes I don't know when I go to sleep. Sometimes I'll look at my clock and like 4 hours have gone by.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
really
wait,
scary.
and I'm like, wait, what just happened? Yeah, sometimes I will just have horrible insomnia. And then, you know, Fridays and Saturdays is when I kind of really have it bad because I'm so used to like either traveling and going on the road or
being at the comedy store.
And seeing all my friends. And it's just like, wow, at this time, you know, and here we are in summer, and it's just like, oh, that was my favorite time. You know, is those summer nights at the comedy store, having a cold beer and hanging out with friends. And it sucks because I feel like everything is just, it's just canceled. Everything's canceled. And I was told, cause I'm on the road with Jim Jeffries, like our whole tour, I just remember when we were making fun of coronavirus, like,
I was too.
Yeah. I think our last, cause I think I got it in, end of January, because we were in Washington, D.C. and New Orleans. And I remember we were talking about coronavirus, and it was like, and I remember our meet and greet was just, you know, we had the hand sanitizer and stuff. And we're like, well, I guess we can meet and greet and hug and whatnot. And then March came and it was like, boom, done, bye.
I think for all of us, we were like, oh, it's only going to be a month or two.
Right.
And it's obviously not. And it's also not, like, I think we all thought we're going to be in lockdown for a little bit and then everything will go back to normal. And now we're realizing everything's not going back to normal. And I don't just mean that in the way we, you know, socialize with people anymore. Our industries, even though our industry, I truly believe, will be the first to bounce back because people need content, it's different now. And I know of productions that are happening right now and everything is different and we have to adjust. And I'm exhausted, you know what I mean? I'm not in my 20s. I can't just like reinvent myself and like, you know what I mean? Like, here I am. It's like, I can't spare a year. And that's basically what we just did. We just like lost a year, you know what I mean? And you just had you just had a big birthday this year.
I know. Well, it's so funny because March 11th is the last day that I was out as well, because March 11th was when our show premiered, the Funny Dance Show on E!
Right.
And so we had this huge, not huge, I mean, we had a viewing party at the store in the Belly Room, which is where the show started, or it originated there like 3 years ago, I believe. And then the 12th was when I think the store sent out like an email saying like, hey, we're closing the main room and da-da-da-da.
Yeah,
and
I remember I got that. Yeah, but the OR will still be open.
And I got my spot. For the weekend, and it was like, you're on It was like Friday.
It was
In
Friday.
the
I was on
original
that
room,
show
and I was
too.
like, what? I was like, I looked at the lineup and I was like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And they were like, well, yeah, we had to close the main room. And I was like, well, that's lame. And then I remember that Saturday came around and it was like, nope, everything's closed. I was like,
Everything's
oh,
closed.
wow. So this is like a real thing then, huh?
I mean, I also had a birthday
Mm-hmm.
in quarantine, which, you know,
I mean,
in
everyone's going to.
oh yeah,
Everyone's going
pretty
to.
much, which is
I
like
know.
so depressing.
I
You know what I
know.
mean?
I don't know if you heard that. That was my Alexa
Oh,
telling me to stretch, go for a walk, or call a friend. Because
oh
that's where
my
we're at. We're on Corona notifications. That's where I'm at.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
this
God.
is calling a friend and
And are you stretching?
stretching. Yeah. Because I'm stretching. I'm stretching my communications. Yes.
You've had a lot of, it was funny, right before we started this podcast, you said, I have a lot of past credits, which is a very funny.
Yeah, I do. And I will talk about each and every one
I
if anyone
mean, let
asks.
me ask you, because, you know, I remember when you got passed at the Comedy Store, and I remember, you know, you'd only been doing comedy for a very short period of time. You're like
Yeah, like 6 months.
you're like the last person that Mitzi passed in person.
Hmm.
I was like two rounds before you. And I remember, you know, obviously the first spot that you get after that is terrifying. And I remember a lot of people throwing a lot of hate at you because you
Hmm.
weren't even there to like showcase for her. You were just doing a show and she saw you, which is
Yeah.
amazing. It's one of those, you know, stories that everybody dreams about. Just come to Hollywood and show up and you're a star. And I remember a lot of people throwing a lot of hate to you. And we were talking in the parking lot, and I don't even know if you had a full 15 minutes, which is
Oh
what people
no.
have to do. And you were
Yeah.
talking about that. And we were discussing, like, well, you have one of two options. Like, just fucking do it. Write new material, write as much material as you can, get up there and do it, or just not call in for your spots. Because that's what a lot of, like, jealous comics and like comics that are throwing hate at you right now, that's what they're hoping you'll do, is you'll just
Right.
disappear. And you
Yeah.
fucking didn't. And you're the epitome of, it doesn't matter how you get somewhere, it's what you do when you get there. And you fucking
Right.
rose to the occasion. And I'm sure that could not have been easy.
Oh God, no. It was terrifying. And I was gay on top of it. What was Mitzi thinking?
I know.
It was
And you weren't gay before that, which is the
I
weird
was
thing.
not.
Like, up until before you got passed, you were like hitting, you know, puss on the reg.
I know. And quarantine made me realize that. And it was just so interesting because it was just such a weird time, and it was such a especially like with everything that's gone on this summer with straight white male comics.
Yes.
I didn't have that time to, and I still don't have time to just bullshit.
Right.
And I feel like that's a lot of it was just, I don't have time to like try and fit in with the clique. And I'm not in fucking high school anymore. I don't have time to, I'm going to try and get this puss, it's just gross. It made me like all that stuff that happened with said names.
Yes.
It made me go, oh God, thank God I didn't like try and like fit in with those losers. Like,
well, I mean, even if you tried to fit in with them, you would never, that's not your personality. And
it's not my personality. And
I'm not saying, the accusations are true. I can only tell you my experience, with that. And I feel fortunate where I didn't experience a lot of things that some other, younger female comics experience coming up. I think by the time I got to LA, I'd already been doing comedy in New York for 3 years, and I had a rougher exterior. So I definitely, I'm sure I gave off that don't fuck with me vibe.
Yeah.
But having said that, I definitely did a lot of road gigs where I was, hosting, and you'd hear that, like, oh, we got to share a room. Sorry, we don't have enough, but we don't have enough budget. Right. You know what I mean? Or a lot of flirtation going on in certain clubs where it's easier just to flirt back because you don't want to be called a bitch, or you don't want people talking badly about you because you want to make sure you still get spots. I mean, that's definitely something that goes through, our minds all the time as female comics coming up. What I mean? Yeah.
Mine was very similar where it was like, I had it where every man thought that I wanted to have sex with them, which was very weird because I had to like look at some of these guys and be like, you're a 4. Like, like, what are you talking? Like, I'm not blind. Like, relax, dude. Like, no. And especially like when I went on the road, it would be like, you know, if I was if I was say the club booker or something was like in the room alone with me, I could tell how like nervous they were. They'd be like, he's gonna try and blow me. And then, you know, even at the store too, I had to deal with people, you know, calling me a fag to my face. And being like, oh well, you wouldn't get it, you're gay. And I'm like, like, what are you talking about?
Seriously.
And I seriously had to get into that same mode as you, is the don't fuck with me,
right? Don't fuck with me,
because I will ruin you, and that will be a bad day for you.
I mean, I hope people that are listening to this, if there are any out there that would even, you know, have that strange flirtation with a woman that makes her uncomfortable or any kind of like unwanted attention. I hope they just heard that, like, any guy out there that's that closed-minded, homophobic, sitting in a room with someone who happens to be gay thinking, oh God, I hope he doesn't try to blow me. Now I want you to think about how a woman feels like every day that she's alone with a guy. Like, I hope they feel that and know, like, that's what we feel like all the time. You know what I mean? And you're way more open about it, like with the sexual comments, or, you know what I mean? Like the inappropriate, extra long hugs, like all of that. Like, I have a thing, honestly, where for a long period of time, I would sit like at the beginning of the C word, like as you're coming in and I'm checking you in, my arms are crossed. I want everybody to like imagine, who can't see right now, who are just listening to this, my arms are crossed. What about this body language tells you I want to be hugged right now? And I specifically do that because like, seriously, because I don't want to be hugged. Guess how many people still come in and hug me, arms crossed and everything? I'd say 7 out of 10. They don't even read it. I don't even get up out of my seat. So I'm sitting and my arms are crossed, and somebody walks in, they're like, hey, and then they just wrap their arms around you. I'm like, get your mitts off me.
There's nothing more awkward than like a seated hug. Where you're just hugs. Like, it's just like when they lean down and it's like,
it's so uncomfortable. And then then your cheeks like brush against each other. It's like, I didn't mean to get that close. You're in your head. It's really weird.
What makes me laugh is that, going back to the being alone in a room with a guy, it makes me laugh because I'm talking like the most hetero male.
Right.
It could be like the burliest, the you know, like, and just watching them be so triggered and so impacted and so like questioning everything they believe in with me. I'm not a threatening person. I'm tall. I've got great skin and a great jawline and amazing hair.
Really,
but
I mean, yeah.
It's so funny when people are just so intimidated by their own masculinity. Yeah. And I even remember one night I was with Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan looks at me in the face and he was like, you were the weirdest gay guy I've ever met. And I was like, and I looked at him and I go, same. And he was like, what? And I go, why would you even say that?
Yeah. But what did you mean by that?
Yeah. I'm like, you post pictures of you in the sauna, bro. Like, how gay is that?
How gay is that?
I'm like, I don't even do that.
I know you don't. You really don't. One of my favorite stories though is about, what was it, like your girlfriend who like still doesn't know that like you guys like broke up. Like you just literally like left her, and she's still like, to this day she might like, so here's your opportunity basically to let her know that you guys are no longer dating if you want to like.
Oh, I know. I mean, I feel like the last time I saw her, she was putting on my makeup for A Midsummer Night's Dream. And
you guys were still together at this point, officially?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And I trusted her with my makeup. She was doing my makeup for a play that I was in.
Right. She had no idea.
She had no clue. No clue. I played the King of the Fairies, Oberon, and Midsummer
You played
Night's
the
Dream.
King of the Fairies.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Okay.
She didn't know. Still doesn't know to this day. And then, we never, it was so weird because there was never any closure. It was just assumed. We were just like, all right, okay, bye.
Do you want to tell her now? Do you want to tell her now on this podcast?
Yeah.
You can change her name to protect the innocent.
Okay, yeah, Ashley.
Just call her Karen.
Karen, I'm really, really sorry. I'm sure you have a family and a husband. It wasn't my summer. It wasn't my summer. And it was me, not you. But I'd like to think it was you, not me.
Well, it was kind of her. When people say that,
it was kind of her.
Yeah, I mean,
again, it's like back then in the early 2000s, it wasn't like sex was not discussed as much as it is now. We all knew what it was. We all talked about losing your virginity and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, there was no, dick pics weren't a thing.
Oh God, no. Thank God. Thank God we did not grow up then. Now. Thank God we're not growing up now. I mean, oh my God.
All I had was an ambiguous screen name and an AOL chat room. That's really all it was. And I just kind of went with that. And I went into like chat rooms and that's when I kind of got to experiment with like being sexual and talking to somebody, because my parents didn't do it for me. My friends were just very like, oh yeah, blowjobs and hand jobs. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like there was no explain. I didn't have a, go on. It was
they didn't have TikTok where you could see it, where you could have a blowjob tutorial.
Yeah. Or like see what an orgasm was, or like anything like that. And so, college was that for me. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of sucked because I went from being straight to being bi to it's a phase to it's gay to what am I this semester?
It's like when you change your majors. It's like changing your major.
I couldn't imagine being and I couldn't imagine being that college freshman now being like, well, I guess I'm not going to figure it out this semester because school's on Zoom now. I don't know.
Oh my God. I'm so bad for kids starting college and kids that just graduated high school. Like what I remember my senior year was so much fun in high school. Yeah. What a memorable, and I know it's not like that for everyone, but for a lot of people it is memorable. And a lot of people that just want to graduate, like they didn't even get that. They got drive-by graduation, which is just, I know. Just.
And my birthday was actually on the first day that California got officially locked down, March 20th.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Wow.
March 20th was when everything was like, and I had plans. Yes. I had plans that week. And then the actual birthday was a Friday. Actual birthday, it was like a group of my friends Zoom calling me. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
It was so depressing. Yes.
And they're like, hi. And I'm like, what is this Brady Bunch hell I'm in?
It's like, we're going to have to do everything. We're going to do everything over again. Everything has to get over again. What are some of, honestly, like your biggest disappointments in this industry? Here's the thing. It's like you book something in this town and everyone is like, oh my God, congratulations. It's like, oh my God. And of course you're excited and you have that sense of like, oh my God, yes. But in the back of your mind, you're just waiting because I have to be so cautiously optimistic now because you let yourself get so excited about stuff that is seemingly foolproof. It's a go. You're the person. Yeah. It's happening. You're on the show. It's going to be a big thing. And it goes away. And when then one thing goes away, they all go away. And then it's like, you're gone. It's just, it's so devastating. There's no other industry where that happens. I mean, I obviously know I have a lot of them, but my major, AGT was a major.
Oh God. Yeah. I remember that for you. That was terrible.
It was so bad. I fell so hard to the ground that I almost didn't get up again. It was one of those where I was like, well, this is the universe telling me to stay down. You're not hearing me. What did you have you had a moment like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely went through that phase of, being constantly put through the ringer at E, where it was like, we're testing you for this pilot, we're testing you for this pilot, we're testing you for this pilot, callback, pilot, callback. I mean, remember when I worked for Funny You Should Ask, it was like, hey, I gotta go because I have this audition, you were like, another one? And I'm like, yeah. And it was just so, it was just so, it messed with my head, obviously, because I'm like, I have to put in this work for the show that I'm working on. But at the same time, I kind of have to like focus on this so I can possibly book that.
Right. You were testing. And for those of you that are listening right now.
Fucking time.
Yes. For those of you listening right now that don't know, that you don't understand, like testing is, you're almost there. You are basically like at the door and about to get the job. So it's super close. It takes a lot. It's a lot of steps to get to that place.
And when you get to that place and they're like, oh, we're going to go with somebody else, it's heart crushing because you're just like, not only have I risked my other job.
Yes.
But I've risked my gas money and I've risked my, my sanity and my time. I'm sitting in a waiting room looking at all these other people going, who the fuck are you losers?
Right.
And
then it comes down to like, sometimes it's like, it gets down to like you and like one other person.
Yeah. It's like me and a potted plant and they go, and they go with the potted plant. Sorry,
we're going to go with the potted plant.
Yeah.
We just see a better future with him.
So I went with that. I went through the ringer with that. I want to say my biggest disappointment, honestly, is probably the whole Chelsea Lately incident. That was like my biggest disappointment, my biggest regret, my biggest kick in the ass that kind of made me go, hey, you need to be professional. I think my fallout with Whitney Cummings also, not that we really had a fall in, but it was just,
share his story, break it like.
Okay. So it was at the height of Chelsea Lately when Chelsea Lately was just, the shit. Every comic wanted to be on Chelsea Lately. Were you on it? Did you get on it?
I did not. We tried many, many times and that's a longer story for a different podcast. Yeah.
So every comic was on Chelsea Lately, and you have not made it as a comic unless you're on Chelsea Lately, which now is just TikTok.
Yeah.
And so I remember I had my manager at the time was just like, we're going to get you on Chelsea. And I was like, badass. And I remember for some weird reason, I had opened for Whitney in San Francisco one time. And I remember we had such a really good time. And I remember her calling Tommy, who was the talent coordinator at the store. And she was like, oh, yeah, Justin's great. She's like, I don't think I'm going to have him open for me anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's a fucking red flag right there. And so then afterwards, she called me up. And she was like, hey, I want you to come meet me for lunch because I have an idea to run by you. And I was like, sure. So we went down to some vegan restaurant, Real Food Daily to be exact. And she was like, hey, I'm doing this talk show with E, and I would love for you to be my co-host. And I was like, what? And
by the way, when you hear something like that, the earth stops, time stops for a few seconds because that's what we all, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you have to audition for this and I want you to be this and you're like, oh my God.
It was just straight up like, here we are. We're shooting a pilot. We think you'd be so great. You're gay. We want that like kind of that sass with Whitney and da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking awesome. So I was like, yeah, I'm totally down. This was going to be her talk show called Love You Mean It, which debuted after Chelsea. Yep. And so I went to a taping of Chelsea because they were going to test me for a panel on Chelsea to get me on the round table, you know? And my friend Fortune was on it. Everybody was on it.
Yes.
Everybody who was a comic at that time was on the show.
Except for me.
Okay. And me. And so I remember meeting Chelsea. Like I walked in the back and Chelsea was there. And I was like, hi, I'm Justin. I'm such a huge fan. And she looks me in the face. And the first thing she says to me was, you're gay, right? And I was like, ew.
So...
And I was like, yeah. And she goes, I knew it. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I just thought it was so, like, gross.
Right. Yeah.
And unprofessional. But I played along with it because it was like, ha, this is Chelsea and ha, ha, ha.
Right.
So afterwards, she's like, hey, I want you to come to my Christmas party. So I'm like, okay, oh my God, this is it. This is it. So we go to the Christmas party. Whitney and I ride together with her boyfriend at the time. We go to this hotel in Santa Monica, and it's literally this bar. I'm so nervous because I don't know anyone there except for like comics. And other comics are just kind of looking at me like, why the fuck is he here? Because I hadn't been on the show yet.
Right.
So all these managers and agents, very suit and tie, Christmas formal party, sponsored by Belvedere Vodka. What could go wrong? So I'm literally at the bar just drinking and 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 drinking till everyone is just crossed over. Everyone is blackout drunk except for Chelsea because she was dating 50 Cent at the time and he had not shown up yet. So she was sober waiting on him. So everyone's like, she's a fun drunk. She's a terrible sober person. And I'm like, great. So we all start dancing. We all start just getting filthy. And I'm cutting up. I'm so drunk that I'm dancing to the Black Eyed Peas at this point.
Oh my God.
And
Justin.
I know, how gross. And so,
ma'am.
I mean, to the point, ma'am, indeed, to the point where people are like walking around and just pouring, like we're in fucking Tijuana, like they're just bending
just
our
pouring
heads
it down
back.
your throat. Yep.
Yeah, and just pouring it. And it gets to the point where all of a sudden, I remember talking to Chelsea and seeing her. And then the next thing I knew, I woke up in my bed, not hungover at all, which was very, very strange.
So that's the last thing you remember.
Yes.
Is walking up to her.
Yes. And having a conversation with her. And then the next
so you do remember talking to her.
Yes. And I remember waking up like Snow White, like, oh, what a wonderful party. And I remember texting Whitney, and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much again. That was so much fun. Da, 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 da. And she texts back, woof. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, you got thrown out. And I was like, what?
Whoa.
And I said, well, for what? And she didn't know. She's like, I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, you were asked to leave and da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh my God. So afterwards, I went home. I'm staying with my mom for Christmas, and that next day Christmas episode had aired, and Chelsea in her monologue was like, for the first time ever in Chelsea Lately history, I kicked a drunk guy out of my Christmas party. And it shows a picture of me, well, the lower half of my face, actually, it's my nose down to my jaw, and Whitney has Chelsea's thong in her mouth. And I'm like, wait, how is this worse?
By the way, you actually have been on Chelsea.
Yes, actually, yes. So which spiraled into the worst 3.5, 4 years of my life, because nobody gave me an answer. Everybody unfollowed me. Everybody, I was blacklisted by the talent booker of that show. Nobody would give me the time of day over a fucking Christmas party. It wasn't like I was on television wasted. It wasn't like, so in my head and in my heart, I'm like, what the fuck did I do? I know
did
I'm a
you
good
light
person.
a baby on fire at the Christmas party?
I questioned it. I was like, did I hurt somebody? What happened? And so finally, I remember Fortune got cast or got hired as a writer. And I was like, congratulations, but you have to find out what I did at the Christmas party. So finally, Fortune was going around. She talked to Sarah Colonna. She talked to Heather McDonald. And finally, Heather was just like, oh, yeah. She goes, oh, yeah, he was just drunk and Chelsea wasn't having it. And I was like, that's it? I was like, this is coming from someone who based their career off being a raging alcoholic and admitted it? Like, I have to lose all these opportunities. So I would follow Whitney around at the Comedy Store parking lot and be like, so Whitney, about that show, what are we doing? She would straight up ignore me. She would straight up not even give me the time of day. And finally I was like, hey, Whitney, are we still? And she's like, oh yeah, they're going with Julian McCullough. So yeah, I don't know what happened. So, and I'm like, this bitch threw me under the fucking bus. I knew it. I was like, wow, she just didn't want to be associated with me. I was like, we rode out there together. We went to the party together, but no. And I was like, that's one of my biggest regrets. And I even went through manager after manager after manager after manager, and they were all like, we got to get you on Chelsea. We got to get you on Chelsea. And I was like, good luck.
Right.
And then I remember, I think it was right before Chelsea ended, where I was like, my manager at the time was just like, yeah, I'm trying to get you on Chelsea. And Michael Cox, who was I'll say his name. I will say his name. He was like, yeah, Justin will never be on Chelsea lately. And my manager was like, well, why not? And they were like, he knows what he did. And I'm like, no, I really don't know. And so it turns out I was just blacklisted because of a incident at a Christmas party, which is really, really, really fucked up. And the fact that I found out, it took me 3.5 to 4 years to figure that out. I mean, it was brutal psychological damage.
Yeah, of course.
Especially because everyone's looking at you. And I remember even being brought up on stage. There was like those 3-4 years where people didn't know what my credits were and they were just making it up. They were like, you've seen him on Chelsea lately? And I'm like, oh my God. No, you have not seen me on Chelsea lately.
Well,
and they're like, oh,
from the nose down.
From the nose down.
It's
so yeah, that was one of my biggest disappointments, because it not only disappointed me and myself, it disappointed other people's actions.
Right.
Like when you think somebody has your back in this business, how quickly they can turn on you.
Of course.
And just not give a fuck. Like, yeah. Are you helping me? Are you doing anything for my career? No? Okay, well then why should I give a shit?
Right. It
showed me the vileness and the disgusting aspects of the human spirit.
Yeah, and especially in this industry.
Yeah, and I know that I'm not the only one that happened to. I now know several people. I'm not going to mention them, of course, but that same thing happened to. You're one of them. I mean, it happened with you in the same sense but just a different aspect.
Yes, I was also told that I would never be on it, and when I found out the reason why, it wasn't accurate.
Right.
I was told that I did a show with Chelsea, like a live show, and she didn't like me, and that never happened. I've never done a show with her. I've never ever done a live show with her. So I was like, well, I think then she's mistaken. Like it's probably someone else. And everyone was like, nope, it's you. It's definitely. And I'm like, no. So eventually it's like, you have to stop asking why. That was the whole takeaway. And also, you know what? Maybe they just didn't like my humor. It's comedy subjective. That's totally fine. I don't think that's obviously not the case with you. But again, it's like, it was a Christmas party. I don't know what you said to her, but I'm
pretty sure it was along the lines of like, thank you so much. I'm having such a wonderful time.
Right.
I don't care how shit-faced I am. I'm not going to lose my manners.
Right. No.
I'm not going to call her a cunt to her face and then be like, Merry Christmas.
Right.
But once this pandemic's over and there's a Christmas party, you better believe what I'm going to be saying to her face.
I want to be there for that, by the way. And I'm going to make a TikTok out of that.
Please do. But I feel like there is, it's that very like opportunist, toxic environment that we kind of surround ourselves in, where it's like, that's why I think these cliques form. And I think that's where it's like everyone kind of turns a blind eye to certain things.
Yeah.
Because they want to still be included in the group, no matter how bad the behavior of a friend is.
Yes, I mean, getting voted. I didn't even get voted. I just got removed from America's Got Talent after I had such a phenomenal audition. In fact, they used.
Girl, you got a standing ovation.
Yes, by everyone and the 4 judges, and they used my audition and show comics that are trying to get on the show now. So I have 2 comics that were trying to get on the show 2 years ago, and they were like, they use your audition as a what to do to get through the judges. And I'm like,
that's so gross.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
And the reason that I got eliminated was that I wasn't a mom. And it's so like, what? It doesn't even, And it also, it was like when I found out that was the reason, it was it hurt so much more because I was trying to get pregnant before that and
Right.
stopped to be on the show. So it was like, oh my God. But having said that, I learned a lot from that. And I would not be where I'm at now, whether it would be better or worse, I don't know. But I wouldn't be where I'm at now if things had gone differently on that show. Of course, I look back at like all the missed opportunities, as you do, I'm sure. But you're killing it. I mean, you really are killing it. You're so incredibly talented and so good at what you do. And you're on an upward cycle. And I truly
hope
believe
so.
You totally are. And I have to believe that happened for a reason.
Yes, I agree in that. It just put a damper on a friendship that I thought was going to blossom. And so I want to even say before we even got locked down, I remember I had to bring Whitney up on stage, and I hadn't talked to her in years. And so no, sorry. Whitney brought me up on stage.
Oh, okay.
And so she was like, who's next? And, Jeff, the piano player, was like, Justin. And she's like, Martindale? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, oh my God, I love this guy. He's like a brother to me. He's so great. I'm actually going to sit back and watch him because he is just so fantastic. And you're going to think he's fantastic too. Give it up for Justin Martindale. And I got up on stage and I was like, what the fuck did she just say? And so I go, hold on really quick. And I go, Whitney, are you still here? Crickets. And I go, thought so. Okay. I was like, she didn't stay in the back and watch me. No. I was like, nice try. Love you, mean it. So you just have to kind of like put all that bullshit aside. And I even told her, I was like, look, and all that shit that happened with us years ago, let's move on. I would like to be a friend with you. But like, no matter what, it just always makes it weird. And I've tried, and I'm just at that point now where I'm like, I have my friends, I have my people that I can confide in stuff. I have my people that I can trust and actually have a friendship with. And I'm just tired of trying to be everybody else's friend. If it's not a match, it's not a match. Sorry.
No. I think when you first started in this business too, you try to be a friend with everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You want to be
I feel like that's,
yes.
Everyone's like, this is a family and we all get along. And
yeah, but it's like a dysfunctional family. It's like most families, it's incredibly dysfunctional. And you've got all of those different elements all rolled up in that family, and you see them a lot, and not usually, and I mean, what we do is very ego based. You know what I mean? I love how much work we do on ourselves, and how like my therapist can say like, stop looking, outward for validation. And I'm like, yeah, but bitch, that's what I do. Like if I don't get the validation on stage, I'm not doing my job. If they're not laughing, and telling me, oh, that's funny. So it's like that, balance between being able to be on stage looking for the validation from the audience, like, yeah, you like this bit or you don't like that bit, and then getting off stage and turning it off. Like, I don't need someone else to tell me I'm great to know that I'm great. Like, that comes from me. I mean, you can have that on stage too and be like, I'm going to do this joke because I fucking think it's funny. And I totally do that. But for the most part, if you do something that never gets a laugh, the audience is not telling you this is a funny joke, you will stop doing it for the most part. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
quit.
Pretty quick. So, I mean, you want the validation from, we're in this industry all about, people liking us on social media. That's all we're doing is looking at how many people like us, how many people are following us. But so it's really hard to just be like, but I validate myself. And then
that's
it's like,
the thing. That's the thing. I mean, that's at the end of the day, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And it's who gives a shit how many people are following you?
You're right.
I'm doing my job. If you want to get on board of this train, hop on.
Yeah.
But like, if my content is not amusing enough to you,
right,
so be it. Go somewhere else. But the numbers should not be a thing.
They should not be a thing, but they are.
All you need is one. Numero uno, yourself. That's it. Yeah. And it sounds cheesy, but that's all it is. And especially during a pandemic, it's all I have right now. This has really taught me who my friends are, who I love, and who I cannot see for a certain amount of time and pick up the phone and pick up right where we left off. And you've
Right.
always been one of those friends with me, and I appreciate that.
Right back.
But it's like, it's like you truly respect and love the friends that you care about, because they're all going through the same shit you are.
Yes.
And
No matter what you see, they're all going through it.
And no matter what it is, like all the shit that we're seeing online, politics and sex and disasters and all in between, everyone's kind of dealing with that and dealing with not working and whatever. And if you are doing it, go for it. Congrats, more power to you. But the last thing I need right now is another comic who I don't really have a relationship with being like, you were so funny. I know, bitch, I've been doing this for years.
I know. Yes, that's like what's so infuriating about that. I was reminded by a good friend that I need to stop waiting for my ship to come in, because I am the ship. You are the motherfucking ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think when we start this career, that's all we do is we just wait for that ship to come in and wait for you know what I mean? No, we are the ship. Fucking take care of you. Do things that make you happy. And I think that this whole pandemic is a hard reset for a lot of people. I know a lot of people that are leaving Los Angeles or have already left, starting new careers. And maybe that will be the best thing that ever fucking happened for them. So
they need that snap, that cataclysm to just be like, okay, let's go.
Let's go.
And I know a lot of people who have ended their relationships.
Yes.
I know a lot of people who have started families. It's like my brother's getting married in October, and I'm just like, why are you doing this? And he's like, well, because we want to get married and on 10/10/20. And I'm like, let's just not. How about we wait until we can actually, like, it's just like, we want to get married, we got to get it. I'm like, just chill out.
Yes.
My ex co-host is pregnant now from,
Oh my God.
Yeah, from E. It's like, and that was a huge thing that she wanted to do, but again, I couldn't imagine like getting married and or having a child in quarantine. It's just like,
although I feel like having a child in quarantine is the best way to have it. You don't have to go on.
I guess so.
You don't have to go on leave. You can just fucking, you know what I mean? Like, you come out of the quarantine and your kid's, in junior high. I mean, it's pretty much
a nice bathtub water birth, and then all of a sudden they're in 6th grade wearing masks, 6 feet apart from their friends.
Time just flew by just like that. Well, this has been so good. My God, please tell everyone where they can find you. And by the way, I'll have all my information in the bio. So tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes, please find me, because validation matters. If we've learned anything from this podcast.
And it's all about how many people like me and follow me.
Please follow me. Everything's fine. I mean, I'll move on. You can find me on Instagram at Justin Martindale, and you can find me on Twitter at Just Martindale. And make sure to listen to my podcast, Glittering Garbage, on Spotify and iTunes. It depends. It depends what the week is. But I do that with my friend and comic Justine Marino, and you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, TikTok with Justin Martindale, until the government decides that it's over.
Yes, exactly. But then you'll be on Reels on.
It'll be Real Talk.
It'll be Reels Talk. Reels Talk with Justin.
God. And then
the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing,
and then the next thing. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody. Of course, my God. Thank you for everybody for listening. Please subscribe, review it, like it. Please like it. And if you don't like it, fuck you. Thank you guys for listening. My name is Jody Miller, and remember, don't fucking call me ma'am. Yay!